The big C, cortisol. Cortisol is a feeling of stress and the feeling of anxiety. We share these chemicals with all the social mammals, and so when you see a herd of gazelle grazing, and one of them thinks they hear a rustle in the grass, and they go, right? That's what cortisol does. Cortisol is designed to keep us alive. It is the first stage of fight or flight. It makes us paranoid. It makes all of our senses hyper-attuned to look for the danger. It injects glucose into our muscles to make us stiff and ready to go in case we need to fight or flight. It increases our heart rate like crazy, right? And it makes us start looking. It makes us paranoid to find the danger. And the cool thing about cortisol, when you work in a social environment, is if other people sense that you're nervous, they get nervous. So all the other gazelle go, they didn't hear anything. They just saw Steve over there really freaking out. So they got all freaked out. And now they all start looking for the danger. Good system. And one of them, who didn't even hear the initial rustle in the grass, sees the lion, runs, they all run, they all live another day. Good system.
So when we go to work and someone says, I think there's going to be layoffs, all of us are like, what do you mean? Wait, there's going to be layoffs? We're all paranoid and we're all thinking, oh, I shouldn't have talked in that meeting. We start to get crazy. We start to get paranoid. Our hearts start to race. That's what cortisol does. It's trying to keep us alive. You wake up in the middle of the night, you hear a bump. What's the first thing you do? You wake up the person next to you, and then what do? And if there's nothing there, you go and trust your eyes. You go looking for it. We're visual animals. If there's nothing there, you go like this. Cortisol leaves our body and we relax, and the heartbeat goes back down. Cortisol, to get all that extra energy, to make us paranoid, and to make us self-interested, it needs to shut down non-essential systems because it has to get it from somewhere. So it shuts off things like growth. You don't need your fingernails to grow at that moment, so it shuts it off.
The other thing it shuts off is our immune system. Don't need it in that moment. The problem is, you're not supposed to have cortisol in your system all the time. You're supposed to have it in and then gone. And when we go to work in a place that doesn't make us feel like we belong, that doesn't make us feel safe when we're at work, guess what we get? Little bits of cortisol dripping in our body. Drip, drip, drip. Makes us paranoid. Drip, I know my boss hates me. I know he hates me. I know he hates all of my ideas. I know it. Drip, drip. It makes it self-interested. One of the things cortisol does is it inhibits the release of oxytocin. Biologically, if you work in a high-stress environment where you don't feel safe, you are biologically less empathetic and less generous. We don't care about each other because we're too busy trying to protect ourselves. Drip, drip, drip. Our immune systems are now compromised. Drip, drip, drip. We live in a country with some of the best medical education in the world, some of the best medical systems in the world, some of the best doctors in the world, some of the best hospitals in the world, some of the best medicines in the world.
Please explain to me why diabetes is on the rise, heart diseases are on the rise, and cancers are on the rise. Our jobs are killing us. And the people who are responsible are the leaders. And we also know that parents who come home stressed out, their kids learn that this is work is. Work is something that makes you short-tempered and unhappy. And so on, they expect this as they grow older. The worse we know that parents who come home and sad and angry, it has such a negative impact on their children. There's some studies that show that might actually become bullies because of their unhappy parents who hate their jobs and have excessive amounts of stress. Our companies are literally killing us. So, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Leadership is not a rank. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is a decision. Leadership is a choice. It has nothing to do with the position you have on the organization. If you decide to look after the person to the left or after to the person to the right of you, you have become a leader. You've seen the movie 300, right? The Spartans, the greatest fighting force of all time. Do you want to know one of the things that made the Spartans great?
You see, leadership is not a rank.
Leadership is not a position. Leadership is a decision. Leadership is a choice. It has nothing to do with your position in the organization. If you decide to look after the person to the left of you and look after the person to the right of you, you have become a leader. You've seen the movie 300, right? Spartans, the greatest fighting force of all time. You want to know one of the things that made the Spartans great? It wasn't their muscles. It wasn't their spears. It was their shields. They stood shield to shield, and the phalanx was strong because all those shields were big. And they were told when they were young children, you either bring your shield home or you come home on your shield. The punishment for losing your shield was tremendous in battle. Because if you lost your shield, that meant you cannot protect the person to the left of you or the person to the right. And you have destroyed the phalanx. It's the shield that matters, not the spear. Not the spear. It's your willingness to sacrifice yourself, not your life. Maybe your credit, maybe your little time, maybe a little energy. You know what? Maybe getting up from the desk and talk to somebody for 30 minutes instead of sending a 3-minute email. It's your willingness to sacrifice for someone to hold that shield up so that they feel safe. That makes you a leader.
And you want to know how to beat a dopamine addiction? If you're worried that you're addicted to performance and all these dopamine things, Alcoholics Anonymous has been highly effective for decades, 80-something years, and we all know the first step of the 12 steps. I mean, we joke about it, right? It's admit you have a problem. But do you know the 12th step? I mean, don't say it. It's supposed to be anonymous, but I'll tell you what the 12th step is. Alcoholics Anonymous knows that if you master all 11 steps, but not the 12, you will drink again. If you master the 12th step, you will beat the disease. And so what is the 12th step? The 12th step is the commitment to help another alcoholic. Service to another. Oxytocin wins, serotonin wins. The more we look after each other, the safer we feel. The more we feel like we belong, and the more we will work together to confront the dangers outside. Do this for others, and others will become Johnny Bravo. Thank you very much.